Now, I would also, just in closing, like to ask, well then, what are the reasons for not hearing the voice of the Lord? I mean, it's so amazing that so many of us don't really hear the voice of the Lord. Well, I want to suggest one or two reasons why we don't hear. I'm going to make it personal. I'm going to suggest one or two reasons why you don't hear the voice of the Lord, why I don't at times. The first is, I think we're listening with the wrong ear. Quite simple. If we're listening with the wrong ear, we won't hear the voice of the Lord. Many brothers in particular tell me they've never heard the voice of the Lord. Well, I suggest it's because they're listening with the wrong ear. It's as simple as that. They expect physical tones, they expect a physical voice, and they're all the time waiting for this tremendous visitation from on high, which they will go on waiting, I am quite sure, till the Lord does visit them and takes them to be with himself. But they'll never hear the voice of the Lord in that way. They're listening with the wrong ear. They are oblivious to the fact that within them there is the right ear. And they are, as it were, bypassing the right ear and listening with the wrong ear. Therefore, they naturally don't hear the voice of the Lord. And when they hear other people speaking about the voice of the Lord, they look aghast. Secondly, I would say, another reason is that we are listening to the wrong voice. I think some of us have got our ears well and truly clamped upon the wrong source. We're either so busy listening to what other Christians feel or say that we have no life with the Lord. We don't listen for his voice. Or it may be that we're so self-centered or so self-important that we have only an ear for ourselves. And we gloss it all up and say that this is where damage is done to this whole matter of hearing the voice of the Lord. People go around glibly saying, the Lord said to me, the Lord said this, the Lord said that. The Lord never said anything of the kind. Taking the name of the Lord in vain. The Lord will not hold him guiltless that takes his name in vain. It's a very serious thing to take the Lord's name, and it does such dishonor to the Lord. It stumbles young ones in the faith. It unhinges some who are older as well. It's a dangerous thing. Of course, all of us make mistakes. That's the whole point. I mean, we sometimes do say, the Lord showed me this, and later on we find the Lord didn't. And all we can do is to admit it humbly. Well, we're none of us infallible. There are far too many popes amongst Christians. Far too many. They're absolutely infallible. And once they've said that the Lord said so-and-so and so-and-so, they can never admit that they've made a mistake on it. I don't know why. They seem to feel that if they should admit such a thing, they'll lose their salvation altogether. Anyway, listening to the wrong voice is another reason. Another reason I'd just like to give very briefly is the firm belief in some of us that the Lord would never speak to us anyway. There are some who have said to me when I said, well, now look, they've come to me, you asked the Lord, and they've hesitated and then said to me, I just don't think the Lord would ever speak to me. When I was a little boy, I suffered a lot from deafness. I had a strange complaint, which I won't go into, but it was a strange complaint in the ear, which produced a dry wax. And when I was a little boy, I couldn't hear often properly. And my grandmother, dear old thing, she was very suspicious of this. She was the one who took me to see the specialist. She was very, very suspicious, and so was the specialist to begin with. And when we got home, I never heard what she was saying, but so she tested it out. And she talked away, and I didn't listen, didn't hear her. And then she said, all of a sudden, she said very quietly, would you like some apple pie? And I never forgotten this. I was only 6 or 7. I perked up straight away and said, "Oh, yes, please." Well, that's very funny. You never heard anything that went before all that, you see. And I was sort of found out. The reason was that I had got dry wells. They discovered that later. But the reason was that I had a little capacity, which I still got today, that when I don't want to hear what people are saying, I sink into myself and I just don't hear. Just don't hear. Do you know that we were told later that some people become permanently deaf psychologically because when they're children they don't want to hear and they train themselves not to hear, and in the end they don't. They become deaf. It's an amazing fact. And you know, this is a spiritual thing as well often. Sometimes we're just not listening. We've got a firm belief that anyway the Lord wouldn't speak to us. And the result is that, no, we never hear the voice of the Lord. We've got to believe. Faith is the necessary prerequisite of hearing the voice of the Lord. There's no real faith there, but the spiritual organ is not even open to the voice of the Lord. Well, I think I must end. But there are other reasons. I would suggest sometimes we're too far away from the Lord. We're too far away from him. Of course, we won't hear his voice. The sheep have got to stay near the shepherd. They've got to stay near enough to hear what he's saying and so on. And you know, it's a very true thing that in the East, it's the stragglers on the outside of the sheep, of the flock, that get caught and killed. Those who press nearest to the shepherd in the center of the flock are the safest.